The Jeffrey Dahmer story has gotten lots of reactions from the victim's family and even from Jeff's father himself. But the show's producer Ryan Murphy has finally broken his silence, and his reply will shock you. Right from when the Jeffrey Dahmer story aired on Netflix, many of the affected families have spoken about how their story was taken advantage of. And that's because they were never approached to permit the story. Shirley Hughes, the mother of Tony Hughes, was shown to have a relationship with Jeff in the show, said that she didn't get how her family's name and her son's story could just be used like that. Also, Rita Isbell, the sister of the victim Errol Lindsay, attacked Netflix by calling them harsh and careless, because, to her, they only made the show for profit, which was cruel. She said, "I was never contacted about the show. I feel like Netflix should have asked if we mind or how we feel about making it. They didn't ask me anything, they just did it." But despite all these backlashes from the affected families in the show, the producer Ryan Murphy has said that they are all wrong. Ryan mentioned that he reached out to them before releasing the film and got no reply from any of them at all. At an event for the series at the DGA Theatre in Los Angeles, Ryan said, "We reached out to around 20 of the victims' families and friends trying to get input, trying to talk to people. And not a single person responded to us in that process." And Ryan added that the research process was very long, as it took about 3 to 3.5 years waiting to get a reply and have more material to work with for the show. But because the victims' families and friends meant to help with the story didn't come through, Ryan said he had no choice but to rely heavily on the researchers working with him on the project. He said that he was even surprised that they got many details he could never have imagined. And maybe the affected families were shocked too, wondering how Ryan's team got all of that information about them. But then Ryan said it's all because they went extra, trying to discover the absolute truth behind the lives of the victims, so not just to make another show based on hearsay. To the understanding of some viewers of the show, it's not the permission that mattered to the affected families. Most of them didn't just want to relive the horror of what Jeffrey did again. But Ryan said that's why the show's description has been clear from the beginning, as it says it's not a story about Jeffrey Dahmer, but one that exposes his evil crimes. Also, it focuses on the victims who deserve more in life, and the racism in the community that allowed Jeff's crimes to continue for a more extended period. The show also focused on homophobia and incompetence in the police unit. But despite all of these facts, the Jeffrey Dahmer story has continued to receive unfavorable feedback for embellishing what Jeff did. And Lionel Dahmer, Jeff's dad, intends to sue Ryan and his team for making a glamorized show about his son. But then Ryan can only reply by bringing attention to what the show was set out to do in the first place. In his reply, he said, "Something that we talked about a lot in the making of it is that we weren't so much interested in Jeffrey Dahmer, the person, but what made him the monster that he became. We talked a lot about that, and we talked about it all the time. It's really about white privilege. It's about systemic racism. It's about homophobia." The show's director, Paris Barclay, also added that the victims represented in the show weren't just serving as numbers, as they wanted people to see and honor them and the life they lived, which was why there was a lot of backstory to reveal that. He said they intended to celebrate the victims through the show because before now, no one paid attention to them. But now with the Jeffrey Dahmer story, that became possible. Paris spoke more on this by referring to a scene in the show where Tony wrote on a paper to Jeff that he wasn't going to disappear after Jeff doubted that he would be back. He said, "That's what the show is about, because it lets the world know they were authentic and didn't just disappear." He said, "It's about making sure that these people are not erased by history, and that they have a place and they're recognized, and that they were important and lived full lives. And they came from different places, but they were real people." Paris continued by adding that the people Jeff destroyed weren't just pictures on billboards or another story to enjoy, but that they were people who had hopes and families who loved them. And he concluded by saying that the show is just about that, as the backlashes are just distractions from the real purpose of the story. However, before Ryan Murphy spoke on this, Evan Peters, who played Jeffrey Dahmer in the film, already discussed the rule that Ryan gave them while filming. Evan said that they were made to tell the story in a way that Jeffrey doesn't get the attention, but the victims do, so it's more accessible for the viewers to sympathize with the victims and not the criminal. And that's why there was a significant limitation to how far they explored Jeffrey's story. In a press conference, Niecy Nash, who was played by Glenda Cleveland in the show, asked why there's still no memorial in honor of the victims despite the show's popularity. And Ryan replied that he would be glad to do anything to make the memorial happen, and he doesn't mind paying for it. Ryan said, "I do think there should be something, and we're trying to get a hold of people to talk about that. I think there's some resistance because they think the park would attract people interested in paying homage to the macabre, but I think something should be done." Despite Ryan Murphy coming out to back up his claims and insisting he reached out to the affected families, many people are still not okay with how he went about the show. In their defense, Ryan should have understood that not getting a response from the victims' families meant that they didn't didn't want the story to be told. And also, some have added that Ryan's attempt to talk to the family was to get more information to help with his work and not necessarily a way to seek permission to go ahead with the film. But none of the backlash seems enough to put Ryan off continuing with the monster story in season 2. So Ryan only plans on making the most of his deal with Netflix before it ends in 2023. And who knows, the $300 million contract might get renewed, but then he's not taking any chances as he's set to begin work on the next season that follows Jeffrey Dahmer. According to Netflix, Monster Season 2 will be another serial criminal who has caused so much pain for affected people and society. And hopefully Ryan will be available to bring on another season of this successful show. Before the Jeffrey Dahmer story and other recent hits by Ryan, there have been claims that Ryan had failed Netflix in bringing sensational films to the streaming platform ever since he signed a deal in 2018. But now that he's making waves, many people wonder if the agreement could get extended so the fans keep enjoying more blockbusters from him, especially Monster Season 2. But then Ryan has hinted that he might not do so much again after his deal ends in 2023, as he has interests that are not related to films. He told the New York Times that he might not do anything but retire and spend the rest of his life farming. Ryan said, "I might retire and launch a line of beeswax products. I wouldn't be surprised if I moved to the East Coast and changed my life completely. I just bought a farm, and I've always wanted to be a farmer. I grew up in Indiana, my backyard was a cornfield." So with this recent information from Ryan that he just bought a farm, he might not get to be the producer in charge of Monster 2. But since the Monster 2 announcement is official, it's only likely that Ryan will still be working with Netflix when filming starts. And Ryan could also get a deal extension because researching films like this alone takes years. As Ryan said, it took them on the first season. But hopefully he gets a response from the affected families whose stories will be told in season 2 to make it easier and faster. Aside from the Monster Season 2, which will begin filming soon, Ryan is also working on many other projects for Netflix. One of the projects Ryan is currently working on is Ratched Season 2, but many facts concerning when it comes out or who the cast members will be are still unknown. The producer is also said to be working on A Chorus Line, a limited series focusing on a movie from 1985. Then there's another anthology series called Consent that Ryan is planning on bringing to Netflix, and it's about the Me Too movement. This show will focus on actual events of disturbing cases where workplaces have messed with workers' rights, especially women. Among all of these are also many untitled series and movies the producer is working on with Netflix. But viewers who have enjoyed the first season of Monster are hoping to get a season 2 soon enough, and to see more brilliant works from the producer. These same fans who love Ryan's films expect his reply to the victims' families who say he didn't ask for permission to be enough as an apology to help him focus on making Monster 2. So, what do you think of Ryan Murphy's response to the backlashes caused by the Jeffrey Dahmer story? Do share your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.